Questions aren't easy, especially when you're new to the craft of public speaking. The unfortunate truth is that even one badly answered question can ruin even the best presentations. And that's exactly why in this week's episode of Master Talk, we're going to be uncovering the mysteries of answering tough questions. Hi everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic week. Brendan from Master Talk here, your go-to channel to mastering your talk. And today, we're going to be talking about answering tough questions and how to answer the ones that come your way. So let's get into it. Number 1, clarify questions, especially when you don't understand them. But at the same time, don't be shy to clarify them, even if you do. The thing that drives me bonkers is that most people don't clarify questions when being asked them, especially when they don't understand the question that they're being asked. This is a huge problem because if you don't take the time to clarify a question that you don't get, you're answering the wrong question. And that is the biggest pet peeve of anyone who asks a question or a tough one. Remember, if someone is asking you a hard question, it's because they really want a specific answer to a specific problem or issue that they see with your presentation. So if you're not able to give a specific answer to that specific question they're asking, they're going to leave that conference or that boardroom or that meeting or that whatever you want to call it, they're going to leave frustrated that you didn't answer and give them what they wanted. Remember, consultants or people that work to give advice to people who are way more senior and way more older than them, that's their job, to solve problems, they're never afraid to clarify any types of problems or any types of questions that they have. Even when the people that they're asking these questions to are CEOs of companies, C-level executives. So why is it that C-level executives aren't bothered by these clarifications, even if there's countless numbers of them, as I do in my day-to-day job? The truth is that question askers don't really care about clarifying questions. They don't mind doing it. But what they hate is when you're asking, and more specifically, answering the wrong question. So be sure that you're clarifying. But another thing that I want to add is even when you do answer the question, and more specifically, understand the question that you're being asked, don't be shy to clarify as well. Because it can buy you time to develop a better answer. And the reason why I recommend this is because if someone asks you a question you answer too quickly, you might give the wrong answer, or you might have given a better one if you had more time to think about it. So it's always important to take the time that you need to answer a question, especially when you give yourself opportunity to do so. So as long as you never forget that point, I think that you'll be able to answer and manage these questions much more better. Number 2. Now that we've focused on the idea of answering tough questions in a way that helps you buy time by clarifying them, let's talk about another way to buy time, which is either through silences if you're an advanced speaker, or through specific keywords that you're going to be using to buy time as well. I don't care what type of level you are as a speaker. When you start, it is impossible for me to expect that you're going to be able to answer every single question without any trouble. Because when I started as a speaker and I started answering questions, I had so much trouble at the beginning. It's only after you've done it hundreds of times that you're going to be able to be more comfortable about answering them quickly, swiftly, and concisely. But that's not something I'm going to expect out of a beginner, right? That's why, especially at the beginning, it's important for you to use keywords to buy time. So for example, at the beginning, I'm not shy about this, whenever someone asked me a question, I perfectly understood it, I would say something like, I love this question. This is a great question. Thank you for asking me this question. I really like the point that you drove here. I always ask these or say these keywords to buy myself time to ask myself what the answer of the question is going to be. So during those 3-4 seconds, I would say, okay, what am I going to answer? What am I going to say to make sure that this executive understands what I'm driving here? And through that practice, I was able to slowly transition from a beginner speaker to an advanced one. So what advanced speakers like to do when they're being asked very hard questions is they just pause. So for example, if you say, Brendan, what's this part of the presentation? I didn't really understand it. Could you clarify this for me? I would just look at them, smile, think about it, and then answer the question. But the issue is that beginner speakers have a lot of trouble holding the silence. Because at the beginning, when you're being asked a lot of questions and you don't have a lot of experience presenting, when someone asks you a question, you get really nervous, you get really jittery. So you start going around the place, you start getting nervous, and your words start gibbering, and it's very difficult for you to manage yourself. So that's why by using these keywords that you're going to always be able to ask, you're going to be able to stay above water and answer and manage those questions as well. So now that we've covered the importance of clarifying questions, and we've also covered the importance of using silences as a way to buy time, the last thing I want to go over with question asking, and more specifically how to answer them, is the third tip, which is bringing the worst critics into your room. Let me give you a context here. When I was studying in university, and I did business case competitions, let me give you a more inside look of how intense we were. So let's say in a semester I would probably give 20 to 22 presentations, and most of those presentations would be to coaches. So let's say 2-3 senior executives from companies would come in to our room after we spend some time practicing the case, then we would present it in front of them, and then they would ask us questions for 30-40 minutes. That's generally how it works. So even if that seems intense, it's not the end of the world. You know, they ask us really hard questions, we have to stay strong, and we're going to get some wrong, and then after some practice, remember I've done the program for 3 years, and I've done that hundreds of times, if not at least 100 times, I get really used to answering questions. I'm a lot better at them. But what happens is 3 or to 5 of those times, of those 20 presentations, we actually present to the entire class. So what happens is for 20 minutes, me and my 2 or 3 teammates, we present for, let's say, 15-20 minutes. But then for the next 40 minutes, there's not 1, there's not 2, there's not 3, there's not 4, there's not 5 coaches asking questions. The entire class does. The entire class of 24 to 50 students, depending on which class you're in, would bombard you with questions for 40 minutes until your presentation was completely ripped apart. And that would happen time and time and time again. If you go through that type of conditioning, even if it hurts, even if it's painful, even if you don't like it, the people that come out of this program are excellent at answering questions when they get onto the workforce, because they're so calm and they've been asked so many hard questions in their life that they now know how to handle it. So the caveat to you, or the transition for you, since you don't have access to that case competition setting and that level of intensity, is you need to create that type of accountability, either through people who you trust that are trying to work on this as well, people who aren't afraid to tell you what they actually think, people who are really negative, people who want to bring you down. Those are the people you need in your presentation room, because they will make you stronger when it's time to present to your actual audience. The last thing I want to leave you off of with this last tip is the biggest benefit of refining the way that you ask questions is it will make your presentations bulletproof. And I mean bulletproof. Because the next time you jump into a boardroom or you jump into a presentation, you'll always think at the beginning, hey, what types of weaknesses do I have in this pitch? How can Brendan bring me down? How can he ask tough questions that I don't know the answer to? What are some of the questions that I think he's going to ask me or other people are going to ask me that I haven't already thought of the answer? That way you'll be able to actively prepare for a presentation, not just the humor or not just what you're going to say, but also what are they going to say? What is your audience going to come with you with? And as long as you're able to do that, you'll be able to master your talk in a way that most presenters aren't even going to come close to. And more importantly, you're going to be able to not only be solid in your presentation, which is important, but also amazing in the Q&A as well. Because your presentation does not end when you stop presenting, it ends when you leave the room. So your Q&A is just as important as your presentation. Never forget that. What I want to leave you off with is that everything is balance. And answering questions and knowing how to manage those questions is the key. And balance is everything. You need to balance the way that you use silences. You need to balance the way that you use keynotes as a way to, or keywords, so to speak, as a way to manage your expectations and to buy you time. As long as you're able to balance all these elements without irritating your audience, I think that you're going to have a really good system to really understand how to answer questions in the most effective way. As always, if you enjoyed this video of Master Talk, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well to see more videos like this. And don't be shy to add me on Instagram as well. I'm at Master Your Talk. I'll leave you off with this final note. If you know someone that just has a really hard time in Q&A, be sure to send them this video so that they'll be one step closer to mastering their talk. Have a great week, everyone. See you next week, and take care. Bye-bye.